All right. Okay, you guys, I'm back. I'm back. I went off to a tropical country and stuffed my face with so much food. I brought my wife with me as well on this particular vacation. I had my two favorite things in one place, like food and the wife in that order. I'm joking, wifey. I know I'm going to pay for that later. Anyways, post-vacation clarity Victor is here. And for today's video, here are 4 signs that Mark Carney could be a disaster already. Let's get into it. At number 1, $486 billion in spending. So let's talk about this spending plan that Mark Carney has put forward. Let me break this down for you. The government intends to spend nearly $500 million with no budget and very little oversight. And this $500 billion doesn't appear to include the new spending Mark Carney put in his costed platform on the campaign trail. In fact, Global News reported that when all the spending commitments from the 2024 fall economic statements are added to the spending plan described in Tuesday's 2025-26 main estimates, the projected total expenses for 2025-26 rises to $554 billion. What? All of this without actually having the benefit of a revenue estimate. You guys have heard me say several times, people freak out about the government deficit spending. The real issue is what the government spends the money on. Like, even if they did end up spending $554 billion, it wouldn't be a problem if they could create $600 billion in revenue with that money, right? That's not a deficit anymore. So it wouldn't be a problem if we saw large-sized GDP growth for that spending. But here, the Carney government is really asking the House to approve a spending plan that promises to spend about the same as Justin Trudeau spent in his last year. And they're asking for that without any real revenue estimates, which would have been necessary if they had provided a budget. They're asking Parliament to approve this before June 20th, which is when Parliament goes on recess. Of course, people are understandably questioning what the hell is going on. Like, here's House Government Leader Steve McKinnon on the Liberal side basically saying the equivalent of "trust me, bro." like, listen to this.
There will be extensive examination with ministers being accountable for those sums in the House of Commons, more than that has ever occurred in recent memory.
So this worries me right here, and I'll make this point number 2. Mark Carney's Harry Potter economics. Just trust me, bro, economics that's going on. Mark Carney and his finance minister said they would be prudent, right? That was the justification for not presenting a budget this spring. There are variables there that I understand. All well and good, especially when you know that the Conservatives are waiting to attack you if your numbers don't match up to your budget, right? Imagine the embarrassment if big short economist Mark Carney makes a shit budget. That would be the funniest thing. You end up looking like a fraud, The variables don't matter to Conservatives. That's just the fact. So I get why the Liberals are trying to be prudent, as they say, with not presenting a budget this spring. But at the same time, there is nothing prudent about $500 billion in spending. If you don't know enough to share a budget, can you honestly say that you know enough to spend $500 billion? Like, there's really not much room there for things to go wrong. Also, we don't know which nation building projects they will pursue yet. So how much would the government be leaning on the private sector to develop those projects? And how much could the government spend on that? Right? So this worries me about Mark Carney at this stage. Where is the path to a balanced budget, even on the operational side? Right? At number 3, Parliament is going on recess on June 20th. And this, for me, is a sign that Mark Carney could be a disaster still. I'll explain. So these guys in Parliament are really going to sit from May 26th to June 20th. Like what's with that? Parliament was prorogued from January 6th to March 24th. Before then, we had a filibuster that lasted for 48 out of the 56 seating days in the fall of last year. So why the fuck do they need a holiday? Like, the highlight of that unproductive period in the fall was basically a GST holiday that the country couldn't afford anyways. Like, it was a gimmick that ultimately wasn't enough to save Justin Trudeau. Like, Carney says they want to remove interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day and deliver a middle-class tax cut also before Canada Day. Essentially, before they break for the summer on June 20th. Okay, I guess we'll see. I hope they get this done, but if they don't, I want to see Mark Carney delaying their summer recess. They don't need a holiday. But I know why Mark Carney won't do it. Mark Carney just won't do it because when Parliament is in recess, the government will have limited oversight. They will face less immediate accountability. My assessment right now is that Mark Carney and his team clearly do not want to face accountability right now. And to be fair, there is some good news and some bad news there. If Mark Carney spends well, then limited oversight means he can get on with it. And by the fall, he could be in a position to show his results. If he is terrible, worse than Justin Trudeau, as my conservative friends have been telling us for a while, limited oversight means we might be in for a rude awakening in the fall budgets. If they actually deliver a fall budget, that is. I'm still not totally convinced that they are actually going to give us a fall budget. But will we find that there are many surprises waiting in store in the fall? Anyways, here's number 4. 817,000 immigrants in the first 4 months of 2025. All right. To be fair, this number is false. Canada simply did not accept 817,000 immigrants in the first 4 months of 2024. Juno News reported that this last week. They are a conservative alt media outlet. Obviously, like they're banking on you reacting to the headline and doing very little research. So here's how they got that number. They added the number of new permanent residents to student visas and to work permits. That's how they got 817,000 immigrants. Unfortunately, that number includes work permit extensions and regards all permanent residents as newcomers. Obviously, you know, if you understand our immigration system, that a lot of these new permanent residents were probably already here on temporary visas before they became permanent residents. And this is why you need to be careful about people trying to rage bait you. Anyways, according to Statistics Canada, the Canadian population actually only changed by around 70,000 people in the first 3 months of this year. So if you want to do some homework, just compare that number to the first quarter of last year, and you'll see that there were a lot less people admitted to Canada this year than there were last year. Now, look, clearly, the number of immigrants will decrease gradually over the next 3 years. That's part of the government's plan, right? I guess the bigger question is, should we pause immigration altogether in order to allow housing, jobs, and services to catch up? You tell me. Personally, I think the more sensible approach is probably to ensure that most of our immigration is matched to sectors that we need. So I don't subscribe to the idea of stopping immigration altogether. Like, think about it. Quite a few provinces are working right now to attract healthcare professionals from the US. So those guys are going to need visas, right? They're going to need to immigrate here. Anyways, those are 4 things I'm watching right now. Now, I could have thrown in Alberta secession talk in there as well. Mark Carney says he wants to work with Alberta. Now, I'm interested in seeing which nation-building projects he actually gives Alberta when all is said and done, right? I was watching the First Minister's meeting the other day, and Mark Carney said he was open to pipelines as long as they work to decarbonize the exploration process. And I think Danielle Smith had a great response to that. She basically said, well, how can you have Bill 669 in place, the No New Pipelines bill, a tanker ban, and an emissions cap, and still hope to unleash Alberta's energy? And that is a good question, right? That's a good question. The challenge for Mark Carney now is to figure out a way to work with Alberta and keep this country whole. I would like to see this country stay whole. Anyways, you guys let me know what signs you're seeing so far with Mark Carney. Let me know what disaster signs are you seeing, right? Don't worry if you're on the liberal side. There are some positive signs too, but I'll put that in another video for you guys. Maybe he won't be a disaster. I try to keep things fair on this channel, as you know. So if that's a deal that works for you, subscribe to the channel. The more diverse opinions we have here, the better. You guys help keep me honest, right? I'll see you guys next time. Take care.